How you doing, everybody? It's happy Friday. Welcome to another episode, number 44 of Heavy Metallurgy. Alan, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you, Marty. I am doing very good now that the day is over. So it's been a busy week, and but couldn't think of a better way to finish it off than with tonight's topic, which is going to be a really fun one about one of my favorite bands.
Yes, and the gentleman that joins us this evening.
Yeah. Oh, but before we go too far with that, I did want to say really nice job on the Wednesday night album book club stream that you did with Chris, TJ, and the other guys. I thought that was really cool and went really well. I enjoyed listening to it, and sorry I could not participate.
Well, thanks. We had some audio issues, but those will be resolved next time we do it, and we're hoping to get you on it as well. That just because you weren't on this one doesn't mean you're not going to be on one. It's just when your schedule permits.
Yeah, just gotta get things a little quieter at work. But yeah, if folks happened to miss it on Wednesday night, Marty and his bandmates, Marty kind of gave them a challenge of picking a album sort of at random for them to listen to several times, process and analyze. And so they went through Alantasia's Moonglow. And yeah, I thought all the guys did a really nice job. It was something that was obviously outside their wheelhouse, but they really did their homework on it. You know, you could.
They really did. They were actually they were quite nervous, to be honest.
Well, you could tell they had really put some thought into it. They had given it careful listens. They were picking things up about the album, and they didn't just blow it off. They didn't just I know someone in the comments said like, wow, I was kind of expecting y'all just to joke about the album for an hour, but y'all did a really thoughtful discussion on it. So yeah. And that's what I thought too. So yeah, really nice job to you and all the guys on that one.
Well, thanks. No, thanks. And it would definitely benefited you there as well. But when I listened to that album, I realized that I knew everybody wasn't probably going to agree on it. And that's what makes it good. I mean, I think a lot of these roundtable things, they want to pick something that everybody likes, but that's not what this is going to be about. One person picks and you just got to go with whatever they pick. So,
yep.
But anyway.
And of course, you picked the worst Avantasia album for them. What were you thinking?
I've only got two of them, and it was the first one I cracked the seal on. So I'm like, this is it. I instantly thought of a million things I wanted to say about it. So,
oh no, it was a good one. I think for kind of to launch the idea and get folks thinking about it. Yeah, worked out cool.
Yeah, turned out good. Thanks. But tonight, our friend of the show, Jurgen Allman, he is with us. He came in the last hour. I asked him at the last minute yesterday. Jurgen, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, like, it's super short notice, and it's like 3-something in the morning in Germany right now. But thanks for
perfect over here.
Sweet. He's a night owl anyway, everybody. So it's not like we're putting him out. I think we would have killed Cloudy Milder if we had to come on at 3 in the morning.
yeah, that's Andy doesn't work on that schedule.
He does not work on that schedule.
But, he's way older than I am.
Yeah, he's older than me. Even he's a year older than me. I was surprised. I thought we were at the same, but no, he's got me by a nose for sure. But everybody, Jurgen just threw out a bunch of topics, a lot of good ones. He mentioned Candlemass, which is a topic he's discussed before with us about wanting to do, and this is a perfect time to do it. And it's thankfully one I didn't have to do a ton of research on. There was only 2 albums there's 3 I don't own, but one I did own and got rid of. But there's only 2 that I really needed to listen to. But it's been a lot of fun digging through some of these albums I haven't spun in a while. How about you guys?
Yeah, Candlemass is one of my favorite bands, probably top 10 kind of band. There's a couple I don't own anymore, but really good discography. Know it fairly well. So there's a few I hadn't played for a while. It's like, yeah, I better brush up on this one, give it a spin in the car while commuting back and forth today. But yeah, it's a really good band for a discussion like this, and I'm really glad that Jurgen suggested it. And from the sound of it, Jurgen's got more Candlemass vinyl to show than any one human being should probably own. So that's going to be great to see all the cool stuff that I don't know if I'll even show stuff. It's going to be the Jurgen show for
he's going to be our Vanna White.
So you guys do the talking, and I'm gonna show some stuff.
You're starting us off. But I guess we should state that Candlemass started in '85. The main guy who's been there throughout the whole thing is Leif Edling. And he is still in the band, bass player, songwriter extraordinaire. There was 2 demos, a 2-song demo. Oh, wait a minute. Witchcraft came first, a 4-song demo with Leif singing on it, and then followed by a 2-song demo same year, Leif singing on it as well. But there was some stuff that happened before then, wasn't there, Jurgen?
Yeah, before that, Leif Edling had a band called Nemesis, and he did an album on Fingerprint Records called The Day of Retribution.
Yep.
This is not an original. This is just re-release because I don't have a donkey that shits
gold bricks.
Gold bricks, yeah.
Metal Blade and Enigma released it here. Yep, that right there. Here in the U.S. as well.
Yep, that's the one I've got on a CD.
In Europe, it's Active Records.
Active Record? Okay, right on.
Active, yep.
Metal Blade was big at licensing when they were first getting started.
Yeah. So,
how would you describe this Nemesis stuff?
You can hear a little bit of the Candlemass sound already, but it's very immature. Is that the right word? And we've got Leif Edling singing by himself, and his voice is not...
it's not good.
Not good.
It's not good. It isn't good.
No.
But there's a lot of charm. It's very primitive, but there's a lot of heart here. I mean, you can hear, even some songs that, went on to be Candlemass songs. I mean...
Yeah, right.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, this isn't a CD I've listened to a shit ton over the years. I mean, this stuff was done so much better later on. It's
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's a placeholder basically in a collection.
Yeah. It's a neat historical piece because it shows where they came from, and like y'all said, there's good ideas on display, but they just haven't really gotten it all to come together just yet. So it's a neat listen, but yeah, if you're being fair, it's not a really a top tier kind of doom album in and of itself. It's a beginning.
Yes, indeed. Did you want to show some of the other early stuff from other members in the band, or you want to wait till we get there?
Oh, let's talk about the debut album. Chronologically, I think...
That's you. Let's start off with you.
So, first album, Candlemass released. Does it count as an album? Does it count as an EP? I think it's an album.
I've never thought about it.
It's got 6 songs, but the songs are quite long.
It's an album. I've never thought of it as it never felt like an EP to me. Do you think?
No, for me neither.
To me, it was always one of those kind of annoying, like, in between mini albums, because 6 songs is kind of short, but it does run about over 40 minutes, so I've got no problem calling it an album now. But I do remember originally thinking of it as like a mini album because it was only 6 tracks.
Yeah. These 6 songs are still on the set list when Candlemass play live. They vary a little bit, but all 6 songs are still in their set list. So does this record have a cult status? I think it does.
Yeah.
And it's got only classics. Solitude, of course. Solitude, I think this is the Iron Maiden song of Candlemass, because they play it every single show.
Right.
Demon's Gate, they play quite often. Crystal Ball, they play quite often. Blackstone Wheel, not so much. Under the Oak sometimes. And Sorcerer's Pledge, also sometimes. I would love to have the original press, but...
Want me to show it? Do I need to show it? Am I going to flex?
Yeah, please.
Okay, hold on.
Because this is just a reissue on Peaceful. but it's got some quite funny pictures in there. So that was my first contact. And until Marty returns, I had the original picture disc back then.
Oh, nice.
I was 13 years old, and the picture disc was slightly warped. And I tried to flatten it out in the oven.
Oh.
So that's why I don't have it anymore.
Did you forget it was in there? Like, oh fuck!
No,
Is Black Dragon the original pressing?
Black Dragon is the original, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
My favorite's the band
I
picture.
love that back cover.
Yep.
Damn it.
Hey, look how much I paid for it. $6.99.
Aaron is flexing old prices in the chat already too. So
yeah.
I'm gonna pay you $7.
You can make $1.
Yep, and $100 to ship it to you.
Yeah, right. So, what are your thoughts on the album?
Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah. So now my pressing. This is the Leviathan pressing with the old Leviathan mail order sheet in it. So, but I've also got it on CD. It's a classic. The way you put it, Jurgen's exactly right. It's got a strong cult status to it. It's worth remembering too. They barely had a lineup at this point. That there's really only 3 official members in the band at this point. Johan Lundquist does vocals, but he was technically just a session hire. The guys liked him a lot, but he was never recognized as an official member of the band. It was just Leif and Bjorkman and Naps. Yeah, were the only 3 guys actually credited as members. But nonetheless, they got very lucky, I think, with finding some good session guys with Lundquist. They had good guitar guest appearances to round that out. So yeah, it's funny that you end up with something that's considered this kind of fantastic essential cornerstone of early doom, and they were basically borrowing guys out of the studio to round out the lineup. At the time, they were having a very hard time finding a vocalist. They had tried and it just wasn't coming together. Lundquist didn't stay with him, of course. He would go on and sing with the excellent Jonah Quiz, who did one of the best Swedish demos back in the day. If you don't mind listening to bands singing Swedish and you haven't heard this, it's definitely worth checking out. The demo got reissued on Stormspell. But yeah, it's a great release with Epicus. It's like you said, every song is top notch. There's a good reason they still play all of those songs. It's because they're all very, very, very good.
Very good.
If I'm going to nitpick about the album, the production probably could have been a little better. At least on the Leviathan press, it sounds a little hollow, as I recall. But it can't hide the fact that you've got some excellent songs from start to finish. Personal favorite, I don't know, Blackstone Wielder. I love Sorcerer's Pledge, that way that finishes out the album with a couple of minutes of cool female vocals kind of fading out. It's an awesome one. It's an incredible start to their catalog. Absolutely. Marty, what do you think of it?
I mean, someone said it's the best debut albums in human history. I mean, that could be, it's up there. And a lot of people say this is their favorite Candlemass too. Is it my favorite Candlemass? I mean, I hate to say it's not, but it isn't, because it wasn't the first one I heard, which is probably part of it. But
we'll pick favorites later, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I mean, Under the Oak is a big favorite of mine. They redid it on Tales of Creation, and I love it on that with Messiah singing. I mean, that is fucking great. We'll get to that album later, but Eternal Classics. I always had to laugh at the band picture. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, iconic album cover. I mean, everything about this is iconic. And no matter how production might be, it could have been a little bit heavier or whatever, but it's just so well written. It's really hard to You can't deny it. There's nothing really to nitpick other than maybe production. But Jurgen, what's next?
1987. They released Nightfall, and they got a new singer that came from a band called Mercy. And the guy is Eddie Marcolin. There you go. In his younger years, he released a demo tape with Mercy and 2 full-length albums at Witchburner.
Yep, that cover is so Swedish heavy metal. The cover art for that just screams early 80s Swedish heavy metal. I love that cover for that reason.
It definitely does. So, Nightfall, another one. In my opinion, just classic songs on the album. I listened to that the whole week in the car. Just before we talked about doing the stream, I had Nightfall on when I was driving, like I said, the whole week. The Well of Souls, the first song after the intro Gothic Stone. The Well of Souls is one of my favorites. I love that song. At the Gallows End, Samarithan, Dark Are the Wails of Death, Bewitched. Bewitched has a great video clip. If you haven't checked it out already, Marty, do you know that?
I'm sorry, I was reading something. What'd you say? I can't read and listen at the same time.
You're not a girl, huh?
No, can't multitask. What were you saying now? Have I heard what?
Bewitched. Did you see the video clip for it?
Yeah, it's got Dead from Morbid in the background doing the stomp, and like, is that the same one? Yeah.
Yep.
It
is. And my friend Anders, the drummer for Unleashed, is in that video as well.
Right on.
That's right. Cool.
So this is the start of 3 classic albums in a row, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I love the cover artwork for the 3 albums, and there's no stinker, not a single song that is bad on these following 3 albums.
Yeah.
So your turn.
Okay, Alan.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Jurgen's exactly right. At this point, they very quickly, got a really strong lineup cemented. The story has been that, Marklin heard some of the band's early stuff and like called them up on the phone, was practically begging them. He's like, I've got to sing for this band. It was like trying to sing to them over the phone and stuff. And kind of frazzled life a little bit. It's just like, who the hell is this maniac talking to me on the phone? But it worked out, and they got the rest of the lineup rounded out too, with Lars joining the band, and it's a very strong, very talented lineup goes in, and it's just a year later after Epicus that Nightfall comes out, and it's just a stone cold classic. It's got some of their best tracks ever on it. Jurgen already mentioned, but yeah, just the intro lines to Well of Souls. Every time I hear Messiah sing that, whether it's live or on here, that those first 2 lines, and then they just come over the top. Just that crushing heaviness is the perfect start to the album.
Yeah.
At the Gallows End was the first song I ever heard by the band. It was on one of the old Best of Metal Blade compilation LPs I had. As soon as I heard that song, it was when I just started playing it over and over again. Ran to the record store the next day to see if they had anything any full-length albums by the band. It's still a favorite. Samaritan might be my favorite song by the band. It's
good song.
It's so beautiful. It's very touching. It's got a cool little story to it, and they were good at doing these story songs, which I often like. And this one's it's this nice tale of somebody helping this poor beggar who's dying, and then at the end of his life, he kind of is repaid in kind, with the angels taking him to heaven. And it's funny because you usually think of doom metal, it's all like evil, depressing, sad, and this song's actually very positive and nice. It's a do unto others kind of tale, and it just works so very nicely. And then great tracks on the side too with Bewitched, and like Jurgen said, it all comes together here. The artwork is perfect for the sound they're developing. Messiah's vocals really add a classical sort of operatic grandeur to the music. So it doesn't just sound like somebody wanting to play Sabbath or somebody, playing other styles of heavy metal. It takes on this real unique classical quality, and it's, accentuated. The soloing is excellent. The riffs are heavy. But the music never drags either. The songs always move along quite well. It's an amazing album. Again, I will find something to nitpick about. You've got 10 tracks, but 4 of them are instrumentals or little interludes. And for me, that's too many. I don't like the way it kind of chops the album up a little too much with them. They probably could have just ditched 1 or 2 of those, and the album would have felt. Take away 2 of those and put on 1 more real song, and I don't think there'd be a single thing left to even nitpick at that point. So it is top notch. It is the definition of doom metal, and they're doing it with a brand new lineup, barely 2 years into the band's existence. Marty, what's your take?
Well, this is my first album by Candlemass. I bought it on tape when it came out, but I also got the vinyl for $2.99 in perfect shape, by the way. For me, this album is amazing, but it all comes down to the track Mourner's Lament. I'm going to read one chunk of lyrics. Why just you, my flesh and blood, I cannot live or understand, my dearest treasure to be found 6 feet under in sacred ground. Watch me bleed, you lucky ones. I envy you, your living sons. I'll give mine the strength of my faithful breath. I will mourn him to my death. It's basically a song about a guy that lost his son, and he goes to the grave and visits him. And, my wife and I have had some losses in our lives with having children, and this song still to this day, if it comes on, I bawl. In fact, when I listen to this album, I often skip that song because it rips my guts out. It ripped my guts out when I heard it, as a teenager. But having a little bit of life experience and some tragedies befall, it hits home. And just the way Messiah sings on that song and some of these other songs, you can just hear the sorrow in his voice. I mean, he's got a very Gregorian monk style or tenor or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know the exact what it's called, his style, but very operatic vocals. To think that, if you think what doom metal is these days, let's think of what traditional doom is nowadays. I mean, there is a crowd for it. It's a niche crowd. There's some popular bands, but Candlemass, after this album and the 2 that came after it, especially the one that came after this one, Ancient Dreams, they got kind of big. I don't know how. I don't know why. I mean, they're a great band, but it's a very unlikely style of music to get big. I mean, it isn't straight up. At this point in the game, Sabbath, Leif's Sabbath influence, he wore it on his sleeve, but there's a lot more shit going on in this stuff that took a Sabbath formula and really pushed it into more epic proportions, I think. One thing that is notable on this album, Lars Johansen joined the band. He's a lead guitar player. He's still in the band after all these years. Great fucking guitar player. He brought a lot of color to the sadness on these songs, and he's got a very unique style that's very colorful, very memorable. The solos are often memorable. He's a southpaw. I don't know if that means anything other than he plays left-handed, but this is a fantastic fucking album. Well of Souls. I mean, that, like Alan said, that comes in, that wave of heaviness just washes over that intro. At the Gallows End, there isn't a turd on this album. Bewitched. Fucking A, man. What an album. I mean, another one of those albums where the cover art perfectly matches what's on the album.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at this album, you know what it's going to sound like, and it's fucking awesome. Absolutely great.
And Marty, you said the key word just a moment ago. It's epic. They have
Very
this
epic.
very epic flair to them that a lot of doom metal bands do not have. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's sort of a different little style within doom. But yeah, Candlemass has this classic element and this epic quality to their music. A lot of other bands, don't go in that direction whatsoever, and it really set Candlemass apart, I think.
I will say the sad part about it is I think there was a turning point in this band's catalog where that epicness was kind of left behind.
Yes, there is.
And it was pulled back. A lot of their super creative elements that made their stuff so pure and powerful that he just started falling back on a Sabbath influence after a certain point. And it fluctuated. And there's some albums better than others, but we'll get into all that stuff. But I mean, these early albums is definitely, for me, the best era of this band. Mostly. There's one album in particular that's coming that's really, really good. But anyway.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. All right.
So Marty, you just mentioned they somehow became a big band, so to say.
Kinda.
Over here in Europe, back in the mid to late 80s, there was a festival in Holland that made bands big over here. Remember Testament live at Eindhoven?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Candlemass played in Eindhoven in 1988, and that's when they started to become really big in over here in Europe.
Right.
So that must have added something to that.
It
and
had
you
to
mentioned
be.
the Black Sabbath influences. They played a Black Sabbath medley.
Yep.
Back then.
Yep. He never really hid that influence at all. And it's funny because that band was touring the US. It seemed like they're on bigger tours too. I mean, for a band the noise bands would try to tour over here. The only one that ever did it with any sort of regularity was Creator, I think.
Creator,
yeah. There's like bands like Gamma Ray that wouldn't even do it. Like, no, we're not going there. Tankard, we're not going there. Running Wild, they came here, got booed off the stages, and never came back. So I mean, a band like Candlemass, of all bands, a very unassuming band to get popular, in my opinion. I mean, looking at the status of Doom these days, yeah, there's My Dying Bride, who are big. There's Paradise Lost, but Candlemass is more of a different kind of creature, I think. And for them to have a moment where they were kind of big it kind of freaks me out a bit. It just doesn't seem right. I don't know. But anyway,
compared to some of those bands, I mean, with a lot of Candlemass's music, once you get past, the vocals and stuff, a lot of it is built on a pretty strong traditional heavy metal framework. There's heavy riffs. They can lean a little faster and a little thrashy even at times here and there. So, I mean, there's a good heavy metal structure underneath the music. It's not, again, like I mentioned before, people often think of doom music as always being very slow, sometimes being very draggy, and Candlemass doesn't do that. Like you were saying too, Marty, these solos by Lars, they rip, they stick with you just as well as anything.
He's a shredder.
They're just as good as anything like an Alex Skolnick or somebody would do in terms of showing off the Guitar Hero stuff. And I think maybe that helps them too. The vocals, it's something that either people found very endearing. I do know people that don't like his voice, and that's kind of always the barrier to entry with Candlemass sometimes, is that for some folks, Marklund is just too over the top. It seems too cheesy.
He's got a very extreme vibrato, which some people dig that, some people don't. And it just seemed to really work with what he was doing. That it seemed like it seemed like a classically trained church choir type of style.
I think it was perfect for it. But I can see where a lot of folks, as long as the vocals don't bother them, that they could get into Candlemass if they usually just like traditional heavy metal bands, because there's a lot of that built into the songs along the way.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Jurgen.
So, next album, Ancient Dreams. Another classic, and the cover artwork is even more beautiful than the other one. I don't know where they got the permission to use all these classic pieces of art, but it just fits the music. And the same here as on Nightfall, only classic songs, in my opinion. That one was the first one I heard back then, and I think it's still my favorite. But we're going to talk about favorites later on, I think.
Yeah,
sure.
Mirror Mirror is a classic. Solitude, they have to play it on every single show. Bearer of Pain, Ancient Dreams, The Bells of Acheron, another classic.
Oh, such a great fucking song. Maybe the best song on here.
Yeah. And I've talked about the Black Sabbath medley. It's also on here.
Yeah, it is on this too. Yep.
Ancient Dreams. Yeah. I don't have more words for that. Just, it's an epic doom metal classic. And I read Christopher from Germany. If you don't own that on vinyl, I'm not going to sell you any more records.
So there you go. Get with the program, Christopher. How about you, Alan? What are your thoughts on Ancient Dreams?
Yeah, it's an incredibly strong follow-up. It proves that Nightfall was not a fluke, that the band has found a formula that works incredibly well, and they're building on it. This was my first Candlemass album as well. When I ran to the record store that next day to see if they had Candlemass, this was the one they had, and unfortunately, I didn't have enough money to buy it. I had to wait until the end of the month, so it was like 6 days, 10 days. It was like a week or so before the end of the month where I could go back and buy it. And that whole week, I was just worried sick that I'd go back and somebody else had already bought it. But it was still there, and I snapped it up once I actually had a little money. The cover art is great. If I remember right, a lot of these covers, they were sort of a series, or the pictures go together as part of like a series. I didn't look up the details. Sorry about that. But yeah, classic tracks like Jurgen said, Mirror Mirror is great. Cry from the Crypt is really good. It has like a really nice mid-pace gallop to it. And once again, they just do a really good job telling these stories that have this kind of classic taste into them. These epic tales of ancient things going on with Bells of Acheron, and Bearer of Pain is a great one. That follows that idiom really nicely. Overall, this album to me feels it's a little more straightforward than Nightfall. Maybe it sounds a little heavier. Maybe leans just a tad more thrashy at times. You would never call it a thrash album, don't get me wrong, but just a slightly bit more aggressive. And part of that may also be that it doesn't have all those little instrumental interludes kind of splitting up the album, that you're able to just keep chugging from one song to the next to the next. But yeah, it's another top-notch album, and it really cements Candlemass is now a force on the map. They're not going anywhere at this point.
Yep. Well, you basically nailed a lot of things I was going to say about this for sure. And I would say this album is a little less epic than Nightfall. I mean, it does not sound like it was lifted out of the pages of the Bible, stained yellow and sonically. It's it's a little more hooky. It's heavier. The songs, there's a little bit more experimentation with quicker tempos here and there. Never anything fast, but like I said, the Bells of Acheron is probably one of my favorite songs on here. Mirror Mirror is a classic. I think that was the single for the album, wasn't it?
I think so.
There isn't a bad song on here. The Sabbath medley kind of bugs me at the end of this. I mean, it's after all this great. I mean, not that Sabbath isn't great, but for one thing, it's a medley. Pick a song and do it. Don't fucking do that medley bullshit. I hate that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we know, Leif, that Sabbath is your king. I get it, but you don't need to hit us over the head with it. But anyway, this is a classic album. Of the 2, 3, and 4 albums, this is probably my least favorite of the 3, but I still love it. It's great. The songwriting's amazing. Great solos. Great songwriting. Messiah sounds fucking awesome. Jurgen.
Last one from the classic era, Tales of Creation. I remember the press over here in Germany said they have lost something.
Oh, they're wrong. They're so fucking wrong.
I can't hear any loss in ideas or inspiration on here. Dark Reflections. What an opening track. Under the Oak is still a classic they play. The title track, Tales of Creation. No more words needed. I would have loved to seen them on one of these tours, but I was a little too young. So,
this is the year I graduated high school, by the way.
Okay.
Fuck.
So, Tales of Creation. Last one with Messiah for quite some time.
Yep.
Yep. Changes are coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've seen that same kind of commentary, Jurgen, where a lot of people seem to think somehow that this album had lost a step or was a real notch below the other two, and I never heard it either. There have been long stretches of time where this is my favorite Candlemass album. It follows exactly in the vein of the previous two, and this one kind of has a concept album built into it. It's telling sort of a continuous story, but it fits very much in with all the ideas that they've been using with songs on the past couple of albums. It fits very nicely. Here's some things. There's maybe not quite as many tracks that stand out individually as on some of the other albums, but it all fits together incredibly well. And you still have like Under the Oak redone here is really great.
Oh yeah.
The one I actually want to mention is a little odd. Side A closes with an instrumental, Into the Unfathomed Tower.
It's a ripper.
And fuck me raw, it is one of the greatest instrumentals I've ever heard. And it's funny because it's pushing speed metal tempos for parts of it. Candlemass just completely turn it loose, and it's very short. I think the whole thing's only 2 or 3 minutes. Let me double check the runtime on it. It's not a long instrumental at all. Yeah, it runs about just over 3 minutes. And it just shreds. And it's just amazing. It's divided up like into 7 little parts, and what's interesting is you can actually tell exactly when they move through each of those individual parts. A lot of times when bands do that with instrumental music, it's just like, I don't know, is this part 2, part 5, part 8? I don't have a clue where we're at in it. Just move on to the next song. I love this instrumental. I'm not a big fan of instrumentals, but I will take this album out just to play Into the Unfathomed Tower sometimes. It's just brilliantly done there in the middle of the album. Cool concept. It's perfect for them. It's right in their wheelhouse. I don't think they've lost a step at all. I think this album stands just fine with the previous 2 albums. Nothing at all wrong with Tale of Creation.
I'm with you. For me, I listened to this album today. I haven't spun it in some time, and I was kind of blown away by it all over again, to be honest. It was, to me, Ancient Dreams, like I said, is hookier, heavier, a little more dynamics. Tales of Creation has the epic back. They got the epic back. It's very cinematic, to put it better. You got the Gustav Dorr album cover, which, he's probably one of the most pilfered artists ever in history for metal bands. But man, this album is so good, and the production, Messiah's voice really sits in this music good. I think on Ancient Dreams he was a bit loud in the mix, but it's not a big deal. But here, just everything fits so well. They're darker. This is a darker album than Ancient Dreams, I think. I don't know if it's darker than Nightfall, but it's the songs. I mean, I don't really pay attention. Whenever I listen to this album, I just take it in as a whole album. I don't even care what the song titles are, other than Under the Yoke. I mean, we know that one, and Messiah singing it, so good, and it's placed perfectly in the album. The track listing on this is great. And I've heard over the years, too, that this was a disappointment for some people. I don't get it, man. What the fuck are you listening to? I mean, if anything, it's more like Nightfall sonically and atmospherically than Ancient Dreams was. And it's a dark album. It's a dark album. There's like the instrumental is it's a ripper. It's a shredder. Lars really goes off on some of these solos on here, and it's great. And it's a nice break in the album. It's just a well-paced, well-written, great. And it's really a shame that Messiah left after this, to be honest. I mean,
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. All right.
So, just before Messiah left, they released, in my opinion, one of the classic heavy metal live albums.
Yep, I have it on tape.
I think this is the life after death of doom metal, in my opinion.
I like that. That's a good way to
All
put it.
classic tracks. Great production for a live album from the 80s for, let's call them the underground band.
Wasn't that record like recently just put on vinyl here in the last 5 years?
It's been reissued on vinyl, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's been reissued. This one is originally from 1990.
Okay, it did then. I didn't think it came out. I thought it was kind of hitting that time where CDs were starting to push vinyl out the door. But cool. Music for Nations did it.
Music for
Yep,
Nations.
it's
okay. Right on.
So after that tour, Messiah left. Just as a side note, after that he had a band called Memento Mori.
Yeah.
Their first album, Rhymes of Lunacy, is great. He did 3 albums with them.
Is Mike Weed in that band?
He was.
Yeah, it's Mike Weed's band. This is ex Hexenhaus.
Yep.
Yep. Post Hexenhaus.
Second album. They did a 3rd album without Messiah, but that didn't sell well. And he came back for a 4th album. So here is a great version of He's a Woman, She's a Man. Scorpions on it.
I get the impression that Messiah wasn't real easy to work with. I think him and Leif kind of butt heads, didn't they?
Yeah, they called him an asshole. Sorry to say that, but I think we can talk about that later on.
Okay.
So there's another Messiah episode coming up.
But yeah.
So Candlemass had to.
Yep. Oh, can I say just a couple of things on the live album before we jump to Scares?
All right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and yeah, Marty's right. Most people, had this, on the CD with this cover on it.
Yep.
Yeah, it did come out on vinyl also. Same thing that Jurgen just showed. It's a 2 LP set. The vinyl does have a couple of extra tracks that aren't on the CD. You get on the album, there's Bells of Akron and Crystal Ball were LP only tracks, which is why I've got it on LP and CD. I have the CD. I loved it. At some point, I noticed that the LP had extra tracks. I'm just like, oh shit, there's something else I have to buy. But I really like the way you described it, Jurgen. It really is like the live after death of doom metal live albums. It's a long set, but every track is classic. Sounds really good. It's the band, just nailing it. Absolutely. This was one of the earlier things I got by Candlemass. After I had Ancient Dreams, this might have actually been what I got after Ancient Dreams. And I remember, I think my mom found it for me in the cutout bin at like Camelot. Just came home from the thing. She's like, "Hey, this is one of those bands you like, right?" I was just like, "Love you, mommy." But yeah, it is an amazing record. And if by chance anybody watching isn't that familiar with Candlemass and is wondering where to start, get the live album. It's a really good overview of everything they've done up to that point in their career, and it sounds fantastic. So that'd be a great place to start.
Okay, Candlemass had to deal with the problem in finding a new singer. Finding a new singer after Messiah with his unique voice is a problem.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
He defined the epicness in the band. The music was epic, but the vocals added to that. He was so what's the right word? Theater-like,
theatrical.
Theatrical, yeah, yep. Right. But this Candlemass decided to get more of a rock or heavy metal singer on that one.
Plus, he's hard to replace also because he's a good front man. He just didn't stand there and look at the mic. He would get involved. I mean, he danced around and headbanged, and he was a good front man. So he was hard to replace in two positions. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So chapter 6, this one fell through with the press in Europe. I don't know about the US, but I think this is a great album. I love that one. I can't explain why. I bought that when it came out because I loved Candlemass back then. And I heard the first track, The Dying Illusion, and The Dying Illusion is such a great heavy metal track. It's not necessarily doom metal, but it's just a great heavy metal track, melodic heavy metal. The second song, Julie Loves No More, the Ebony Throne, Aftermath, Black Eyes. To me, it's not Messiah Candlemass, but it's a still classic Candlemass, at least for me. Go throw some shit at me.
So yes, chapter 6, definitely there's a gap there where they had to fill in. They got Thomas Vikstrom to come over on vocals, a pretty good vocalist. You know, he's worked with other bands, Therion, a lot in recent years.
Stormwind.
The Swedish Stormwind, not the German Stormwind.
Yep.
Yeah. There's at least one other I'm forgetting that I should mention, but oh well. But yeah, Messiah is almost an impossible act to follow, no matter who you. It really is like what's happening to Iron Maiden right around this time frame, where you have to replace Bruce Dickinson. No matter who you get, there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to bitch about it, and a lot of folks are going to jump ship.
Well, Maiden didn't do much homework. They really picked the wrong guy. I mean,
Maiden it fared the worst of any of the bigger bands that had this transition around this time. But that's the other problem. This transition also happens at a horrible time where heavy metal is, really going through some weird changes in the early 90s as well.
Yeah.
And you hear, and I think some of that's reflected in the style change on chapter 6. Jurgen's right. This album, it doesn't have that epic, grand quality that previous albums had. And it's not due to Vikstrom's performance. He's a good singer. He sounds good on here. But the album is starting, it sounds more straightforward. It's still doom metal. But yeah, some of these tracks, there's none of these, like tales of ancient, woe or, love or anything. Yeah, you're getting things like Julie Laughs No More. That song title would never have appeared on the first 3 or 4 Candlemass albums. It's not a bad. It's just that it kind of shows that they're coming at it from a very different perspective. Even the cover art, and which I don't like this cover very much. It's kind of meh. But again, it's compared to they had these beautiful renditions before, and now they have a cover that just kind of looks like a 90s metal album.
It was thrown together 20 minutes before going to press, is what it looks like.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like, yeah, slap it together and we'll roll with it. It's almost in a way like, and maybe they did, maybe, you know, the labels and such knew the winds were changing and they knew the band was going to get shit with the new vocalist, and they didn't want to put much effort into it. This album didn't get a lot of press, to my knowledge. A lot of the press it got wasn't very good, like you said, Jurgen. So yeah, there's a lot of things working against this album. But like Jurgen said, it's actually a pretty good album. I'm not quite as high on it as you are, Jurgen, but it's still a good album. It's one I don't go back and revisit all that often, but every time I do, I enjoy it. Yeah, The Dying Illusion is a very strong song. Julie Laughs No More I like. Where the Runes Still Speak. That song in particular really puts me in the mind of 80s era Tony Martin Black Sabbath. Which is what I would compare this album to. It's
good. That's a good point. Yeah,
it's got that same kind of quality to it. His voice, you know, he kind of, you know, can do some of the same things that Tony does with his voice. You know, they're doing a little bit of the mystical, magical kind of thing, but not the same over the top style they had with Messiah. Temple of the Dead isn't bad. Let's see, there's a Black Eyes I like too. So there's a lot of strong songs on here. It's never going to really stand toe to toe with the albums that came before it. This is probably one of those cases too. If they had a different band name on the album, people probably would have thought, wow, that's a really great doom metal album. But because it said Candlemass, and because it didn't have Messiah on it, it took a lot of undeserved flack. I was pleasantly surprised. It just scanning the, you know, Candlemass entries on the mothership over at Metal Archives. This album actually, you know, has a very nice, you know, like 89% rating in the reviews. Most folks, you know, actually have given it its due respect. So a pretty cool album at the end of the day, even though the band's going in a different style. And you hear, you know, just a quick follow-up on the Memento Mori album, Jurgen said, you can hear it on those albums too. You know, Memento Mori's kind of doing this doomy heavy metal thing, but you know, they're also going in a little bit different direction. I don't think those sound a lot like 80s Black Sabbath. Those, to me, always had a weird, I can't explain it other than to say Memento Mori sounded very 90s metal to me, which I guess is part of the reason they never clicked with me a whole lot. But
as in, like, when you say that, I instantly think Pantera.
No, I'm thinking more like Nevermore, perhaps. Something, okay. Just those kind of, not that they sound, you know, like those bands, it just the general production, the feel of the albums, the way the art's being done. It's definitely, you know, moved into the new decade. But no, definitely not trying to sound like Pantera. Not that at all. But yeah, I've said enough about Chapter 6, Marty. Oh, the other thing I gotta figure, the title bugs me because this is not their 6th studio album. So why the fuck is it called Chapter 6? You've got Epicus, Nightfall, Ancient Dreams, Tales of Creation. This should be Chapter 5. You don't get to count your live albums when you're numbering your albums, do you? Unless maybe you're Morbid Angel, but that's different. That's alphabetical. So I don't know why they called it Chapter 6. It's a little thing that's irked me, but now I'll shut up about it.
Well, I don't have a lot to say about this album. I listened to it for the first time yesterday. I listened to it twice. And my friend Austin, he's saying how he thinks this and the album after it sucks. I don't think it sucks. I said, dude, it doesn't suck. It's just, they've shed the epic and now they're just the Sabbath. It's heavy Sabbath worship, not as colorful maybe as Sabbath even, but I thought Thomas's vocals were great. He sounded fine. I think if the music was a little bit more inspired, adventurous, he would have been just fine. He's a one and done singer for this band. I don't even know the song. Like I said, I listened to it twice. So I other than I listened to it, I'm like, you know, if this turns up in a used bin, I'm going to buy it because it's good. I didn't think there was nothing that stood out as bad. I liked it. It sounded like over the midway points Candlemass to me. Just not as colorful as what came before it. And, you know, if you go to like the Washington Monument, you got the monument standing there and the tourists looking up at it. I mean, this album is kind of like the tourists looking up at the monument, you know, because all the albums before it are the monument. Here's this album, Chapter 6. It's just, it kind of pales in comparison, but heavy Sabbath influence. It's good. I'm not blown away by it, but I liked it. Jurgen.
So after Chapter 6 was released, they announced a European tour with Sabbath from England. They had just released their Great in Morning. Is that the album title?
Morning Has Broken.
Turd sandwich.
Morning Has Broken is something
Morning
like
is
that.
broken.
Something broke. That's for damn sure.
Someone's water broke.
And they sold 10 tickets in advance for every show, so the tour got cancelled. And Candlemass broke up. They just broke up because they said it's no sense in doing it anymore. And in 1994, so 2 years after Chapter 6, Live released an album with Abstract Algebra. I don't have that album.
Me either.
Yeah,
I've heard it once, but that is quite some time ago. He wanted to do a second Abstract Algebra album, but he didn't have the money. So Music for Nations tried to help him out with some money, but he had to release it under the name of Candlemass. So this is, let me check it out.
Dactylus Glomereth.
You know what that means? What that is?
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's a small flower. Life is allergic to.
Mm-hmm. It's a type of weed, a dandelion.
It's a type of weed?
Mm.
I'm
not allergic to weed.
Thank goodness. I think you would have figured that out by now. The fact you're still here is a testament to that.
Yeah. So this album, what can you say about that? It's very, very different to all the stuff they've done before. It's a little bit proggy is the wrong word. There's some weird stuff on the album. There's some doom metal. They've got a different singer that goes by the name of
Bjorn Flodqvist.
Yeah. And on that one, Michael Amott from Arch Enemy, Carcass, Spiritual Beggars plays guitar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad album, but it's not a Candlemass album. Period.
A lot more organ. There's a lot of organ on this, if I remember right.
There's a lot of organ, yeah. They have listed a keyboard player on that as well, yeah. Carl Westholm. What do you think about that not Candlemass album?
Yeah, this one, it's worth noting. Yeah, it's Life in a completely new lineup.
Yep.
So he is the only guy left in the band that carries over from the other stuff. You know, even Chapter 6, everybody was still there except Messiah. But this one leaves on his own with a new crew. And yeah, it has a very different sound to it. It came out to absolutely no fanfare. I found it at a record show and looked at it. I thought it was a compilation or something at first, just flipping through the CDs and just like, because it's pretty, nondescript looking. It's like, it's probably like some kind of best of thing or something. And then I started looking at the song titles and was like, no, this is something new. Okay. So I bought it. You've described it pretty well, Jurgen. It is different sounding. I think you're right. I wouldn't want to call it proggy. It has more, it's starting to show some 70s influences being worn on their sleeve, with 70s rock worked into it. It works fairly well on most of the tracks. There are odd moments, but it's not like, what the fuck is this kind of odd moments? It's like, that's kind of different. but it does work pretty well for the most part. It's not something I take out and play very often. It's definitely sort of an outlier in the Candlemass discography, but I think it's still a good album. I would not give it a thumbs down whatsoever. I've got no problem with it. It's just, yeah, it's the oddball one. I think I saw a review of it somewhere in the past day or two that referred to it as like, it's the real Candlemass's, weird cousin. And yeah, it kind of is. But, again, at this point, the band had been mostly, it's the first thing that had come out, or the first studio album in about 6 years. I mean, there's a big gap. Heavy metal obviously had gone through massive changes. 98, not a real popular time to be releasing big name doom metal comebacks.
Yeah, black metal was still a thing.
Black metal and extreme metal were very much a thing. You really hadn't had, Reverend Bizarre hadn't, popped up yet to make doom metal cool again just yet. So yeah, you end up with this very weird album that I like it at the end of the day, but it is unusual. This is not the Candlemass album to start with. If you're curious about the band and wanting to check them out, don't start here, because this will not help you figure them out. Marty, what's your take on the album named after a small flower that some people are allergic to?
I do want to say on chapter 6, before we
sure.
jump in, I listened to it on Spotify, and it had tracks tagged on the end that must have been bonus tracks. They sound like beer drinking songs, all in, I don't know if it's in Swedish or what. I'm like listening to it, I'm like, what the fuck is this? There's like 3 in a row, and I'm like, I don't know, this is not Candlemass, not very good. So that kind of soured me a little bit on the whole chapter 6 experience, but I realized they're probably bonus tracks. But
I've got the answer to that. After chapter 6, they released a 4-song EP with only Swedish songs, Swedish folk songs, I guess. And it's got still Wikström, the singer from chapter 6 on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Candlemass has put some weird stuff on EPs at times here and there, so that makes some sense now.
Yeah, that EP is completely worthless.
Yeah. I struggled to get through that part of the, and the same was with this Dactylus Glomeraf. There was bonus tracks. It was abstract algebra bonus tracks tacked onto the end of it. For what it was, like Alan said, it's a whole new lineup. Mike Lama, I mean, for being a guitar shredder, I didn't really take note of solos, to be honest. I listened to this once. There was some good songs. There was a lot of organ on it, which organ kind of at this point kind of seeps into Candlemass going forward. Not a lot, but enough here and there. It's kind of a different switch from where they came from in the beginning. Leif also did a solo album out around this time, I believe, too. Maybe that was a little bit later. We're very organ heavy, Sabbath worship, but this was okay. There was a couple songs. Wait a minute. Hold on. There was one song that I did like. Where are you at? Oh, I went past it. Oh my God. Sorry, people. I'm trying to. There it is. Dust Flow. It was kind of long, kind of hypnotic. Not a lot going on in the song, but there was kind of a trippy vibe to it. I kind of like that song. It kind of stood out from the rest of them. More or less, some doom songs here and there, some weird little things here. It, like Alan said, don't start with this album because it's kind of one of those for the fans type of things. I mean, if you're a big fan of it, cool. I didn't hate it, but if I owned it, I probably wouldn't. I would listen to chapter 6 much more. But Jurgen is up next.
Next up in the discography, from the 13th Sun.
Oh, this album fucking rules. Love this album.
You love that?
I love it.
I love that one too. It sounds so damn raw.
Heavy.
And it's heavy. It's got some strange stuff. It's got some strange titles, song titles. Elephant Star, Bloomer
Droid.
Apt.
hot.
ARX 891. But I think this record rules.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a Candlemass record, but as a standalone release, I can hear some Angel Witch influences on that. I can hear some new wave of British heavy metal riffs on that. The Sabbath influence is, of course, right there, but Angel Witch is looking around the corner, so to say, in my opinion.
Yep.
That one was again with the singer Björn Folkvist.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Michael Amott was gone on that one.
Yes. Alan.
Yeah, I agree with y'all. This is a monster of an album.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, this is where it came out on CD, and then Jurgen showed a later vinyl pressing. It's a 2-album press, and it's a little odd. One, if they're on different colors, if I remember right. Yeah, one of the albums is on red, the other's on white or clear. Let's see. Yeah, the other's on clear vinyl, and again, there's at least 1 or 2 bonus tracks on the album version. So it was like,
there is. God damn it!
There is.
I may have to.
Which is why I have it on both.
I probably won't find it for $7.99 anywhere.
It might be a little tougher. It's been reissued not too long ago, if I remember right, on vinyl. So you might be able to. It actually may not be too bad. But this is just an outstanding album. It's kind of like they got a little bit of the weirdness out of their system with Dactylus. And here they just like really focus in. I always hate, people play up, or sometimes they dismiss this album as just, it's their Sabbath album. It's like, okay, yes, we get it. It does, have a heavy dose of Sabbath in it, but it's got a lot more depth to it than just that too. These songs are very well put together.
They are really good.
And it's not that, they don't have to be loud and brash and heavy. There are very quiet parts where the words are almost just spoken. There's almost no instrumentation behind it. And it's just got so much weight to it. It's just an amazing performance by everybody. The vocalist, it's the same vocalist from Dactylus, Matt Stoll. Yep. No, that's
Bjorn Flodkvist.
Flodkvist is the vocalist. Yeah, Stoll, sorry, is the guitarist. His vocal performance is just awesome. so good. Now this is not, while I'm gushing about it, this is not the Candlemass album to start with either, because spoiler alert, they don't stick to this style. No. This is another one that they kind of do and then they leave, which is a real shame. I would have been really interested to have seen what the 14th Son might have had on it if they had stuck to this style for a while. But again, this was released on, it was Music for Nations. It didn't get a ton of hype at the time. You're still there in the late 90s. Doom isn't cool. Extreme metal's cool. Let's, make angry, yelling, grunting noises into the microphone because we're pissed off that, something we wanted at Hot Topic wasn't on the shelf. Metal is popular. And so it still went kind of overlooked by a lot of folks, but it's a really, really monstrously heavy album. If you like, the quieter, darker, moodier 70s moments of the Black Sabbath catalog, it's a reference point. It'll get you started, but it is not just a Sabotage clone or anything like that. This is its own beast, and it's a great one.
Yeah, I mean, I've got very little to add other than the opening seconds of Droid. The reason why this album sounds heavier is because they're experimenting with lower tunings. They're tuned down maybe a step. I don't know where they're at exactly, but it's really super heavy. And Bjorn's vocals, like Alan said, he really has a very well-suited vocal style for clean and quiet. He just does not seem out of place. The songs are very well written. It's like the mishmash of crap that's on the album before it is fully realized, and they said, okay, we're not doing that again, but we're going to take these elements and make them better. You know, the Sabbath, I mean, at this point, Candlemass has lost the epic feel completely. It's more of a Sabbath, reinventions of the Sabbath theme. But this album is great. It's so well written. It's so fucking heavy. The production's good. Bjorn's vocals are really well done. He sits in there great no matter what they're doing. This is an overlooked classic, in my opinion. Of the second half of their career, this is probably my favorite, hands down. And it sits right up there, too, as a favorite Candlemass album. It's kind of hard to dethrone some of the classic albums, but, man, this one could really sit up at the top for sure. But it's a different band. It's a different band. I mean, there's not...
Yeah.
It could be, they could have changed the name to whatever, and yeah, it's almost unfair to compare it to the classic era. Yeah. But it's great. It really is good. Solid stuff. Check it out if you like heavy doomish stuff with a lot of interesting twists. He got it right on that album. Leif's songwriting is on fire on that one. Inspired. It's inspired.
It's really good. I will nitpick one thing about the album, and Jurgen already brought it up. While it's a shame the album didn't get more attention and sometimes gets overlooked, if you want your album to be well received and you want it to make a good first impression on people, it's probably a good idea to come up with better song titles than Zog, Cyclo F, Bluma Apartment, and Tot.
Well, that's part of it, but look at the album cover. The album cover, I mean, I would flip right through this like this looks like fucking garbage.
I mean, the artwork, is not helping it either.
No.
But, I can get past that artwork, and again, musically, this is great. It's always been a little hard to me. It's just like, which of those songs has that just, that really cool, quiet, creepy part? Was it Tot or Zog? It's like, God damn it, I wish these songs they need titles as cool as the music. It really does feel like they just, I don't know what, again, they smoked too much Dactylus glomerata the night before and woke up in a pile of their own alphabet soup spewed on the kitchen floor and just like, oh, hey, these look like words. Let's make them into song titles.
They're like, this was 99. So, I mean, I think they're just trying to go for more. I mean, if you look at this, it looks like an industrial album, industrial metal album. And the song like titles are very 90s, early 2000s industrial type of schlock. But the album doesn't sound like that at all.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't fit the music at all. Yeah, those song titles are weird. And for all I know, maybe there's some deep celestial meaning. It's like each one's named after one of the stars in the constellation Orion. Didn't you know that, you cretin? No, I didn't. Maybe there's a method to their madness, and maybe it's just alphabet soup on the floor.
It's stupid. That's the thing. It's stupid. Who would? Okay, the band's looking at this is the art for the album. Oh, that's it. That's it. Nailed it. Stupid.
We got this killer, crushing, heavy song. What should we call it? I think we should call it Tot.
I like tots.
Tots are metal.
Tots are delicious.
I got a case of the munchies. I can use some tots right now.
Anyway, sorry, Jurgen.
Anyway,
You're up.
Tot means dead.
See, there you go. There's a good meaning to it, and I'm just oblivious.
Here in the U.S., it's a fat French fry. It's like a round, fat French fry. It looks like a giant rabbit turd.
It's like a quart. It's like a French fry shaped like a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
You eat enough of them, it will make you dead.
Hardening of the arteries. There's
exactly. For you. There you go.
So, was there any money in these two albums to be made?
I would say no.
I guess less than none.
What would you do to earn some money?
Oh yes,
I'd hang up my guitar and start making tater tots.
There was no OnlyFans back there, and I don't think anyone wants to see Leif jerk off. Well, maybe
so what do you do?
I'm your pervert priest, Marty.
Yep. Sorry, everybody.
If anyone doesn't know, Pervert Priest is one of the song titles off one of the Mercy albums that Jurgen showed earlier. So I'm not, there's a secret meaning to it. I wasn't just random. It wasn't just random.
Pervert Priest at OnlyFans.
Someone's going to buy that domain now.
Better jump on it. Get it while it's hot.
They'll have like all the nuns in the leather costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
Get it while it's hot. Get it while it's taut.
Yeah.
All right, Jurgen, you're up.
So,
sorry.
What do you do when you've got no job and you need some money? Get back the old lineup. They did that in 2002.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They went on tour. They released this DVD.
Yep.
It's got some stuff from that tour, and it's got the movie version of their live album from 1990. So if you want to see that concert, not only listen to it, that's the DVD.
I have that DVD. I didn't realize that was on there. I guess I should probably watch it again. It's been a while.
Do that. They released a best of Diamonds of Doom. I don't know.
They've got some mileage out of the Epicus Doomicus art. Mileage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's got songs from the classic lineup.
It's almost like they employed Halloween's art director's stupider brother.
Yeah. This one is not too cheap anymore. It's just a simple best of, but it's limited to 1,000. So they finished the tour and they decided to record another album. So there you go. Candlemass, self-titled. The return of what?
I'm just thinking of the art thing. I mean, we've got Messiah back, so we don't even have to fuck with an album cover.
Or a title.
Or a title. Let's just path of least resistance. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's just call it Candlemass.
It should have been a picture of Messiah on the cover. That's it. That's all you need.
There you go. That should
could have called it Return of the Pervert Priest.
That photo should be on the album cover. I bought that album, and for 2 or 3 years, I thought this was the best thing Candlemass ever did. Cool. And I mean that. The opening Black Dwarf, what a great song.
There's some great songs on here. Absolutely.
7 Silver Keys, Assassin of the Light, Copernicus, Witches, Spellbreaker, Born in a Tank. What a stupid song title, but I still love that album. It's not my favorite anymore, but for some time it was. Just classic Candlemass, in my opinion. Alan.
Well, I've got stuff to say. I can't wait.
Yeah, my take's a little different on this one. Yeah, and it's worth noting, it's not just Messiah back; it's the entire classic lineup back. You know, Leaf got everyone back on board. I remember, yeah, when this was announced, you know, they had been together touring. They were going to do it. This is an album I made a classic mistake. I really overhyped it in my head before the album was released. Yeah, I mean, I was just, you know, literally, you know, vibrating through the walls waiting for this album to come out.
Yeah.
And as will often happen when you do that, you're going to be disappointed. You're setting yourself up for a letdown.
Yeah.
And the album does, you know, some very good songs. Yeah, Black Dwarf is a great opener. It took a long time for the album, though, to grow on me much. The thing, in retrospect, you know, besides just overhyping it, the thing the album's missing, besides a title and a piece of cover art, you know, cosmetic, you can do without those. the thing, seriously, though, that is missing here, while you've got the classic lineup back, they did not get that epic, grand quality.
Yep, this is Sabbath era Candlemass.
Yes, this is, the songs, are solid. Leaf very much strikes me as one of those guys who can just write good riffs in his sleep. It's effortless for him almost. It's amazing how many, how long he's been doing it and how well it all holds up. But they don't have that extra, special quality that sets them apart from the rest of the Doom scene on this album. This kind of sounds very much like a straightforward Doom album. And you said it perfectly, Jurgen. It's what the fans wanted. It's what they had to do to kind of get their name back, into rotation, get the band back together, give the people what they want. And what they wanted was this lineup doing Doom metal. But this album doesn't fit beside those. It's not another Ancient Dreams. It's not Tales of Creation. It's not Nightfall. It doesn't have that same epic quality about it. It just doesn't. Maybe it's something you can't go back and recapture. Maybe they didn't want to. Maybe they wanted to do something a little more stripped down and straightforward. It's an album, I can forgive some of it now. I've gotten over, the disappointment of the past. And there are, good tracks, throughout here. It's still just not an album I'm going to take out and play a whole lot. Because it's straightforward. It's a good album. I'm not bashing it. It's just, it doesn't have that special quality that a lot of the earlier albums have, for me at least. I can see where somebody, again, a generation younger, and this was their first exposure to Candlemass, would have blown them away, and that's great. And it's cool that you like it that much, Jurgen, that you had it ranked so high for so long. That's really neat to hear. But yeah, it doesn't rank that high with me, even though it's cool to have the original lineup back, and they've got some good songs on it. It still just doesn't. It just doesn't sit beside those other albums that this lineup did so well. Not quite as good for me. Marty, you're. I know you're. I've held you waiting a little too long. So
no, it's all good. I don't hate this album, but I too was pretty well absorbed by the hype. And I just want to say that even the CD, the artwork's even worse because it's a sticker on the CD, which is crooked, by the way. The sticker is crooked and it's over the cross. And so there's your cover art.
Oh, yeah.
They went all out on this shit. Messiah's back. It don't matter. Just put a bunch of fucking white stock, a couple things we draw and Corral draw. But Black Dwarf, I mean, this is a good album. It's a good heavy album. It's a post-classic era album. They did this for the fans. They did this for their pocketbooks. I get it. I understand completely why. And it's kind of a lame reason to get the band back together, especially when the one before is such a good album. This is good. It's what the fans wanted. Messiah sounds good. A little older. Maybe not as I don't know what I'm trying to say here, because he still sounds great. He still sounds like Messiah, but there's a magic on the early albums with him on it. There's just a magic there. The songwriting, the epic style of Candlemass is really special. And this album, it does not have the special to me. It's good. I like the songs. It's heavy. That DVD that Jurgen showed, the set is great. They sound great. Everything's great. It's just not. I don't know. I can't tell you the last time I listened to this. I might put it on now and fucking love it. I'll have to check it out, but it's been a while. Maybe I'll listen to it tomorrow. But yeah, this was a cash grab. I like it. I like some of the songs on it, but it's kind of obvious what they were doing. For sure.
I think in retrospect you can sense that it was not a friendship thing.
No.
Yeah.
I agree.
But at the time when it came out, I just loved. It's not that epic. It's more straightforward stuff, and I loved especially that about the album.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the songwriting's good. I mean, it's not a bad album. I just, in my head, I had it built up to something that it wasn't, you know,
Okay.
and it, like I said, I need to revisit it. It's been a while. Yeah, they could have done much more. You could tell it was like, okay, the last 3 albums haven't sold for shit. We need to do something to sell. We need to get some money coming in, or we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. It has aged fairly well for me, and I think you've got a good point, Jurgen. If they had just done something that tried to sound all epic like they had done 15 years earlier, that might not have gone over as well. Stripping that away and just having a good heavy album might have been the right play at the time to kind of get their flag planted once again. So yeah, we might all be saying like, oh, they're trying to sound like Ancient Dreams and failed, and that could have been a big miss if they had done that. So maybe not going for the epic vibe was the right thing to do.
Uh-oh, we lost him. Where'd he go?
Oh, what'd you do?
I didn't do anything. He must have did something. Or his phone died.
We trash talked about this album too much, and he has abandoned us. Or his phone died.
Well, we'll give him a second here. He might pop back on. He needs his phone must have died.
I may just need to plug in or something. Yep.
So hey, to the 50 people watching, cheers. I know these deep dives on certain bands. I mean, Candlemass is a bigger band. Like the Avantasia the other Wednesday. It was a Wednesday night. There was different people, and there wasn't a whole lot of people watching. Plus, it was Avantasia. So I think Candlemass is probably a little bit more our speed, but yeah, we're gonna try to keep it diverse and different stuff.
Yeah, and right before we had to drop out from it, Jurgen mentioned that there obviously seem to still be some frictions among members. Another spoiler alert: this lineup doesn't hold together except for this one album.
No, was there a tour that went with this? Or there had to have been.
There was. They did play in the U.S. some dates at least. I don't know if it was only a few festivals or what, but that was something I was going to say. To his credit, I knew some folks that did go see the band around that time in the U.S. that actually got to meet Marcolin either before or after one of the shows, and they said he was very nice. He was very pleasant in his interaction with them, just being random fans, like, hey, that's Messiah Marcolin over there on the other side of the street, and going over and geeking out with him. They said he was really, really cool about it, and it was very nice to talk to. He stopped and chatted with him for a good long time. So he may not have been getting along with bandmates, but that's not saying he was being a jerk to everybody or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the album did what it was supposed to. It got the band back on the map. The lineup couldn't hold together, but they would. This time, when they had to go look for a new vocalist, they seemed to have a little stronger idea of maybe what to do, and made sure they went with somebody that was going to create some buzz, and they very much nailed it.
I'll jump in if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
Next album up is with Robert Lowe from Solitude Aeternus, and it is King of the Grey Islands.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I love this album. This album, I think, is fantastic. It's I'm told that there was demos of this material before with a different singer. I wish I can remember who the singer was, but they ended up deciding on Robert from Solitude Aeternus, and he came in and basically sang the vocal lines that the other singer on the demos did. And out of the Robert Lowe era, this album is fucking awesome. This thing, Emperor of the Void, is great. The last song, Embracing the Sticks, man, there's a lot of passion and fire, and I really like Robert's interaction with the music on this. The music itself sounds very inspired. It's in the Sabbath vein, but there's a little bit more fire and interesting song structure twists. The band seems a bit inspired. I don't know if they're just happy they didn't have Messiah anymore. I don't know, but this is a great album. It sounds great. The production's great. Robert Lowe, on paper and on this album, he seems like the perfect fit for Candlemass at this stage in their career. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, they go out and track down. Robert Lowe is going to be the new vocalist, and yeah, I'll if you want to try to text Jurgen, see how he's
Here
doing.
he is. He's back.
Oh, okay, perfect.
My computer just shut down.
Oh shit. Well, I just jumped us into King of the Grey Islands. I love this album. I think Robert Lowe sounds amazing, and he is singing vocal lines that were done by another singer on the demos, which I don't remember who the singer is. I was told, I don't remember, but this is a great album. Was my
cut. It was Mats Levin who joined later.
He
did
okay.
The demos for it. The demos of that album can be found in that box set.
Okay.
Doomology.
Yep.
It's got 7 LPs in it. It's got several different vocalists for the song Witches. We talked about Tony Martin era Candlemass, and Tony Martin is doing the song Witches on that on one of the demos. They wanted to get Tony Martin as a singer. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Tony Martin
that
also
cool.
sang on,
he did
sang on that DVD. Yeah.
Yep. There's a who's who on that. Acker Felt's on there and a bunch of other people too.
Yeah. Janne, my friend Janne from Grand Magos is on there. So you were talking about that album.
Yep. Love it.
This is their white one. It's more rocking. And in my opinion, the cover matches it. It's their dark album.
Yep.
In my opinion, Emperor of the Void, the opening track, Devil's Seed, of Stars in Smoke, just the first side on the first LP. Great stuff. And I think Robert Lowe was an obvious choice.
Embracing the Sticks too. They end the album with a great. That song fucking rules. That's a great song.
Yeah. What else can be said about that? It's just a great album. Wait a second, I have to get a sip of beer.
No problem.
I'm sweating.
Oh boy.
Okay, go on.
All right, Alan, you're up.
Yeah, very good album, and I think the band very much realized that the self-titled album, we've reestablished ourselves. People are thinking Candlemass again, but things fall apart with Messiah, and they probably knew from the last time this happened that they had to get a big vocal presence. That they couldn't, repeat what happened with Chapter 6. And like we discussed, there were other factors happening in the heavy metal world that were working against that album, Chapter 6. I think they really felt a lot of pressure to get some kind of big superstar doom. They needed a name. They needed something that was going to create enough hype to offset the big letdown of Messiah exiting the band so soon. And at the time, they really couldn't have picked someone much better than Robert Lowe from Solitude Aeternus.
Yep.
I tend to think of Solitude Aeternus as one of those bands that everybody knows inside and out. And I stop and realize that they haven't released a studio album in probably 15 or 20 years. And there may be people watching this who weren't even alive the last time Solitude Aeternus released an album. If you missed it, Robert Lowe, American doom metal band, Solitude Aeternus, one of the best kept secrets in doom metal throughout the 1990s. Everybody was paying a lot of attention to Cathedral and stuff like that. This is the band people should have been listening to.
Cathedral.
These early Solitude Aeternus albums very much were in the Candlemass tradition. Like we've said a few times tonight, Candlemass had this sort of special quality of sounding very epic, very grand. Solitude Eternus is one of the few bands that comes really close to copying that well. On these albums, Solitude Eternus, they have a real ethereal beauty to them that not many bands other than Candlemass can touch. Right? Robert Lowe's vocals are a big part of that. They did several really good albums. They too sort of changed styles right around this album. They definitely got just heavier. You can tell from the band picture they were getting darker, kind of stripping away the epic, going more for the heavy Sabbath tones. But yeah, they did fantastic stuff before just eventually. I don't think the band has ever officially disbanded, but it's been a long time since they really did anything. Most of the guys have been involved in lots of other projects, so I don't think we're going to see anything major happen on that front again. But check out Solitude Eternus if you missed it. So Lowe was a huge, name in doom metal circles. So yeah, they couldn't have picked anyone better in terms of generating a lot of name recognition and getting people excited, going, "Oh, Messiah's going, ooh, but we get Rob Lowe and Candlemass, and that seems perfect." And yeah, this is a really, really good album. It shows that, yeah, this isn't just going to be some kind of gimmick. That Lowe's going to fit in here, and we've got good songs to play. In general, it's the same musical style as the previous album. They're going to stick, with a very straightforward doom metal delivery at this point. They're not going to go back and get those, grand overtures of old. At the same time, I guess they don't need to necessarily. By this point, Candlemass is really, they're doing the same thing a lot of those classic 80s bands do by this point. They had their big, they blew up a bit in the 80s, not as much as the Maiden or Priest, but they made their name in the 80s. They somehow survived the 90s despite having some weird choices along the way. And by the time this stuff is starting to come out, they're becoming one of those legendary bands, one of those legacy outfits that everyone's just going to by default start falling in line and agreeing that this is the band. So it's a good first album for Lowe. It's kind of full speed ahead. They're doing just fine.
Awesome. Okay, what's next? What happens in between this album and the next album, Jurgen?
I don't know. Live did some other stuff with Crooks.
Never heard that.
Never heard that? It's got members of Entombed. It's got Mats Levin, who later became their singer. It's got the guitar player that later joined Opeth.
Opeth, yeah.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor. Check out that album. I think it rules.
Crooks 2, I'm right down.
Crooks 2. I don't have their first one, but they released another one called Crooks 3. That one has more Hammond organ on it. It's a little bit more 70s sounding, as you can tell by the cover. So, what happened between these albums? I think they ran out of ideas.
Oh, bad. Wait,
next up,
you got this first. This is a writing on the wall moment.
Oh, wait. Okay. There you go.
Yep. Oh, boy. Yeah.
Lucifer Rising. Lucifer Rising is probably their worst song they ever wrote, including all the stuff outside their classic era. Lucifer Rising is a stinker of a song. It's so boring. Like I said, it seems they ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
The rest of this EP is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
I like the live stuff. It sounds very raw. It's got some classic tracks with Rob Lowe singing, which is nice to hear.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They also released that live album from Sweden Rock Festival. They played Kill the King by Rainbow on that, which is... yeah. Not too good, but okay. Again, the Athens live set. Also on double vinyl. And now back to Death Magic Doom. I love the sound on that album. It's raw. It's dirty. The opening track, If I Ever Die, is not too good. Hammer of Doom is a great song. I think it's a great song. And The Bleeding Baroness is also a great song. But all in all...
Yeah, it's probably the best song on the album.
Yeah, The Bleeding Baroness is probably the... Hammer of Doom and Bleeding Baroness,
Yeah.
It's not a real stinker, but yeah, it's one of their... one of my least favorites in their catalog.
Yeah. Alan,
go on, bash it.
I'm coming. I'm gearing up. I'm swinging. I'm in the batter's box, getting warmed up.
All right, somebody's got to stand up for this, and I guess it's not.
Oh no!
It's they're still. I agree. The band is starting to run low on ideas. It feels like they're starting to get just a little. They're getting kind of cookie cutter. Like I said, Leaf can write riffs in his sleep, which is impressive until the rest of the songs are also being written in his sleep, and they start just kind of churning out. He knows what is going to make people happy at this point. Just maybe give it this heavy sound and this kind of vocal melody, and we can put the name Candlemass on it, and people will buy it. This album still does have some good tracks on it. Y'all have named some of them. Hammer of Doom is pretty good. The Bleeding Baroness is very good. The one y'all didn't mention that I like a lot on here is House of a Thousand Voices. That one I think really that and Bleeding Baroness let Rob Lowe show off his vocal capabilities really nice, that pair of tracks. As you go through side B, there's not as many standout tracks. But at the end of the day, I still like the album overall. But it is definitely showing that things are wearing thin, even just in terms of, it's called, it's got Doom in the title, and then you've got a song called Hammer of Doom. It's kind of like, we get it. You're a Doom band. I don't think there was any questions about that. And it's not self-parodying, but they're almost just kind of like, okay, you guys want us to be a Doom, just make Doom record, we make Doom record. There'll be no doubt whatsoever what is going to be included on this album. No more tots for anybody. No weird 70s organ influences. You wanted us to do just Doom, we'll do just Doom. We'll make it, you buy it. And it's around this time too you start. Well, let me check my timeline over here. Yeah, it's kind of like after this album, you start seeing a lot of Candlemass product getting churned out. This came out in 29.
9, yep.
Then in the next year you get a live album and a box set, another EP, a single. A couple of years down the road, you're gonna have live album, compilation, live album, compilation. Candlemass is it's becoming a brand around this point. You've got the little skull on the sticks. Like you said, you're getting their money out of that old Epicus artwork, and they're going to brand that on a whole bunch of stuff moving forward. Kind of in the sense that like an Iron Maiden does. Maiden doesn't have to make a new album all that often, but they'll put out another live album every 18 months, and apparently people keep buying all of them. So you feel like Candlemass, it's becoming a bit of an industry now. And the song quality is starting. The songs aren't terrible for the most. I don't look at this and think, oh, there's a song on here I hate. But you're having fewer that really stand out. I'll still give the album a thumbs up at the end of the day, but the writing is showing up on the wall here that things are getting a little lean. All right, Marty, have at it.
Well, this album seems inspired. Rob Lowe, he is not following the riffs verbatim on this. There's a lot of life in his performance. He sounds great. This EP is, other than the live shit, writing on the wall. Lucifer Rising is goddamn garbage. And then this hits. Death Magic Doom. I read the press. Everybody is loving this record. I picked it up. What happened? I don't know if it's just who's uninspired here. You can't blame the vocalist completely, but Rob Lowe went from very vibrant, interesting vocal structures on putting his lyrics over the words, over the music. On this, he falls into a rut of following every single riff exactly with the phrasing. He doesn't stretch his legs on this vocally. He just doesn't. Bleeding Baroness is an exception. Hammer of Doom, good song. There's some good heavy shit on here, but Leif sounds very uninspired. It's just Sabbath influenced Candlemass, a lot of power chords, kind of predictable song structures with a vocalist that is stuck in a rut. He is just following these riffs verbatim. And yeah, I was so disappointed with this. I still put it on and it bugs the crap out of me. I really can't listen. Out of all the Candlemass, this is right down at the bottom, man. This is right. I mean, worse than that, man. I don't know. I didn't much care for the Dactylus Glomerath either, but this is the sign of a band that sounds tired. They sound tired, uninspired. To me, my opinion. Jurgen's not throwing anything at me, so he must not.
I just found out about Lucifer Rising. The LP version comes with a single of Lucifer Rising, and underneath it says album outtake.
Mm-hmm. Huh. I think that's what the CD says too. Or yeah, my CD copy has Lucifer Rising album outtake at the end.
Yeah, and White God, yeah.
Yeah, White God and Demon's Gate. I got a feeling after the things I said about the self-titled and Death Magic Doom, if we were hanging out together, Jurgen would be giving me his shit weed. Here you go, stupid American. Shit weed for you.
Thank God we all have slightly different tastes.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And that's what makes this fun.
That's what makes it fun, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, next up in the catalog, supposedly their last studio album.
Spoiler alert.
Psalms for the Dead.
But it's not.
They said it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they said this was going to be their last studio recording. So
they never said they're going to break up the band. They said they're going to do live shows to continue with, but this was supposed to be their last album. I don't have too much to say on that because I think this is the least listened album of Candlemass for me.
Yep.
So tell me something about it. Maybe I'm gonna put it on tomorrow.
I listened to it today. Yep.
I didn't do my homework. I'm sorry.
Don't. You missed very little. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as Marty apparently does, but it's what's happening here is the albums with Lowe are on a downward trajectory. King of the Grey Islands, very good album. Death Magic Doom had its moments, had some good tracks. When this one came out, my initial reaction was like, okay, not that bad. And I played it a lot, and I just remember I never could get the songs to stick with me for any time at all. I'd play it, I'd replay it, just like, it's a Candlemass record. There is no doubt. It very much has what's become, their signature sound, start to finish, but the songs don't stand out on it. And it's hard to pin on any one thing. Is Lowe's performance great? No, but it's certainly not bad. He's always sounds pretty good. The fact that he tends to sing along, with some of the main riffs and stuff, that does not bother me as much as it, bothers some folks, but you do get the sense that, yeah, he wasn't necessarily putting a ton of effort into it. And that was something that was also starting to come out behind the scenes, that the band wasn't necessarily happy with Lowe's commitment. There were issues where, with him not knowing the words to songs when they were performing live, or having really heavy on lyric sheets, having them on the stage for live performances. And like, dude, you've been in this band long enough to learn the fucking words by now, which kind of weird. But looking at the track list, there's not one I can pick out and say really that, oh, I love that song, or oh, this one really stands out. It's like, yeah, it's a decent enough Candlemass record start to finish, but there's nothing that stands out. And there is one thing that stands out in a negative sense. The last track, Black as Time, it starts with this really stupid, drawn-out spoken part, where it's supposed to sound like, I don't know, some kind of narrator from the BBC talking about time and shit. And it's very silly.
That is a poem from, it was on some punk thing. It was like a poet in the UK during the punk era.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a Great Rock and Roll Swindle or another the punk rock movie. There was like this poet walking through the subway spewing this time type of.
Okay.
I don't know if they got the same guy, or I don't know.
Whatever it is, it sounds really silly here. It's very goofy, out of place. And that is something that I can't think of any other moment on any other Candlemass track where I feel like, oh, that's just really silly sound. And I have a real problem with Doom being silly. Doom is a genre for me that you can't make it goofy, because it's completely antithetical to what you're trying to do. Doom, by definition, practically is trying to be pretty heavy and pretty moody. And when you start making jokes and making it kind of silly and goofy, it just completely undercuts what you're trying to do. So yeah, that just really throws me for a loop. You get to the end of the album, it's just like, what the fuck? Why would you have this? Why would you make 9 straight songs of just solid, no frills doom metal after having just made 3 straight albums of solid, no frills doom metal, and then you got this weird jokey thing at the end of your album? I don't get it. So yeah, Psalms is probably the one that to this point gets played the least now too. I gave it a real strong go for a long time when it came out, but there's just not much to latch onto there for me. And what I latch onto is a negative. So, okay, Marty, you can have at it now too.
This is Death Magic Doom Part 2. Robert Lowe is at the bottom of his inspiration putting lyrics over this, and then on top of it, you start adding really stupid lyrics to it, as in dancing in the temple of the Mad Queen Bee, which is fucking stupid as hell. I mean, it's so stupid. I listened to it today. I'm just like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. Really dumb lyrics, uninspired vocals that follow the riffs verbatim. The music, it's the same it's been, whenever Leif seems to be uninspired, he falls back into this, okay, I'm going to make a Doom record now. And he just, power chords, super simple, uninspired, not a lot of vision behind it. I mean, I hate to marginalize someone's art, but you could tell it's product at this point. It's, something to get on the road with, something to make money with. And I don't think Robert Lowe was gelling well with the Swedish folk. I don't think they were connecting in some level. And another thing, his vocals seem to be very loud in the mix. He seemed to be sitting very on top of this album. I don't know. I did not like it. I used to own it, and I got rid of it, which I was surprised to discover. I went trying to find it today. I couldn't find it. So I listened to it on Spotify, and I remember why I got rid of it. I don't care for it. It's not a good album. I think I like Death Magic Doom a bit better, but that's not saying a lot. What do we have next?
From what I can remember of that album, it's got the keyboards really, really loud.
Oh,
and it sounds way too polished, in my opinion.
It's very yeah. You can tell there's some money into it.
Yeah, the production is a little weird on it. Yeah.
And I think at that point, Robert Lowe had a serious problem with alcohol.
Is that what it was?
I've seen them. I've seen Solitude Eternus playing live at that time, and even his old lyrics with Solitude Eternus, he had to read them, and he was drinking beer. And the guitar player, what's his name from Solitude Eternus?
Oh, I've talked to that guy. He's a nice guy.
Perez?
Yeah. It's not Raul Perez, is it? No. Hold on.
Jason? Like that. Yeah, okay, that Perez guy. Okay. Robert Lowe was turning around on stage, going to the drum riser, taking a beer, and Perez was moving up to him, taking his spear. John Perez, yeah.
Yep.
And kicking his ass on stage.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So I've seen that. Maybe that had something to do with his lack of inspiration.
Couldn't help, yeah.
So what's up next?
Well, Lowe is out. Another EP. Cool.
That one has 2 cover songs. Don't Fear the Reaper. And
how'd they do it? I haven't heard that. How would they do on that?
I think it's boring.
Really?
Yeah. And All Along the Watchtower.
How'd they do on that? Same thing, boring?
Boring.
Is that with Robert Lowe singing?
No, that has already Mats Levin singing.
Okay.
Who
did not last either.
For the Sweden Rock magazine, they did an EP. That is not available anywhere but in that magazine. It's Candlemass versus Entombed. Look at the cover. I think it rules.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, that's a cool cover.
That's neat. I've never seen that.
Those 2 heads banging
cool.
each other. It's Candlemass doing To Write, Shoot Straight, and Speak the Truth.
Oh, cool.
Entombed.
Yep.
And Entombed doing Black Dwarf.
Huh.
This
that's kind of cool.
Little thing rules. Huh. If you've got the time, do check out Entombed doing Black Dwarf. I love it. Next up, they released an EP, Death of Thy Lover. Nothing special on it. Just, yeah.
They toured with that Mats for a while too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and he was great live. Yeah. I didn't like the stuff he recorded with Candlemass, but live he was a really good singer. Nothing too special on here. They did another EP called House of Doom. And then they released The Doors to Doom. Yep. I love that album. This is
really good.
The return of the very first
Johan Landquist.
Johan Landquist, yeah. And he does an amazing job on it.
He really does. Yep.
The production is good. The songwriting is back to form.
Yep.
The songs on here, Splendor, Demon, Majesty, the opening track is just a killer song. Under the Ocean is great. The video track they did for Astorololulus, the Great Octopus, Death's Wheel. I never expected to do Candlemass such a great album again.
Yep.
I just love that one. Great production, great songwriting, great vocals.
Agreed.
The ideas are back. So,
yep.
Yeah.
What do you think, Alan?
I'm actually not too keen on this album. I'll be honest. It was an interesting move for them to go back and bring in the vocalist from Epicus, because he had never really been in the band officially. But of course, people always associated him with the band because he was on that one classic release, and I guess he had performed with the band here and there over time, that he would come up on stage and do some of those 6 tracks from Epicus with them at different shows. So it wasn't like he had completely disappeared into the woodwork or anything. But so I got the album. I didn't have a ton of expectations one way or the other. I'm like, no idea what this guy's going to sound like after so much time has gone by. And the last couple of Candlemass albums have been kind of, creeping their way, down in terms of quality. Don't know what this one's going to do. And this was another one. I got it as soon as it came out. I played it a ton, and it's never made a real strong impression on me. The vocals sound very good. It's like, wow, his voice is still in good shape. He doesn't sound like he did in 1986, of course, but he turns in a good performance. Production on the album is fine and all that. There's more here to like than on Psalms for the Dead, sure. But again, that's not setting the bar real high in Candlemass's catalog. I look at the track list, and Under the Ocean's kind of cool. The Octopus Song, I'm just going to go with the Octopus Song. It's not a bad tune. It always bothered me a little bit that all the hype around the album seemed to be about that track having Tony Iommi play the guitar solo on it. That's all you heard about this. This song got play on Sirius XM and stuff. But it was always just like, that was Candlemass with Tony Iommi playing the guitar solo. Can you believe he's playing the guitar solo? So like, dude, Candlemass is, as folks have been saying in the chat tonight, Candlemass is one of the pillars of doom metal. You don't have to bring Tony Iommi in and make it and use that as a selling point for people. It just struck me as very weird that they would fixate on what is essentially one quick guest solo, and there you go. There's nothing wrong with it, but that shouldn't be your central talking point. If that's all you've got to talk about with the album, and that's the only thing that people are really gravitating to on the album, your album probably needs something else going on with it. I like the bridge song. What's it called? Bridge of the Blind is pretty cool. It kind of is a bridge in the middle of the album. Death's Wheel kind of bores me. It goes on a bit too long. And some of the other songs, it's a case where nothing's terrible here. But for me, this is more of the same. They've maybe bottomed out. Maybe they've started back uphill a little bit. But I don't think it's a giant return to form. It's Candlemass doing the exact same thing they've been doing at this point for 15 or so years. It's a doom metal album. It's got Candlemass writing songs. They don't write bad songs for the most part. Some may be better than others. So it's not a bad album, but it is. I don't revisit it much. I tend to there have been times I'll admit it slips my mind that the album exists. I go back and look like, oh yeah, there's that one too at the end of their catalog. Good for it. Doesn't click with me as much as y'all, but that's okay. Martin, you like it more, so let's go out on a positive note. What things do you really dig on it?
I just acquired this album a couple months ago, and Johann sounds great. And after 3 albums with Robert Lowe, 1 being amazing, 2 being very substandard, Johann's vocals, he has a lot of color to he follows the riffs when it's needed. He adds embellishments and color to other things very well. He's got a very desperate but passionate vocal style. I don't know, really kind of bluesy at times. I really like his vocal style, and the music it might be kind of still in the same vein, but there seems like it's put together a little bit more thoughtful. Leif sounds, whoever did all the songwriting for this sounds like Jeff mentioned in the comments, he was kind of out of the picture here and there. He was having some health issues and stuff, but I think the album seems a bit more inspired than the two that came before it. If this is their last album, they went out on a much better note. They went out on something a little more suitable to, you know, hang on a band that's a legacy level band, hang on their coat rack, you know. But yeah, I like it, and the more I've listened to it, the more I like it. Like I said, I really hated Death, Doom, Magic, and Psalms for the Dead. Those albums were so bad. It really wouldn't take much to be an improvement over those two. But they did it. And again, they did it by falling back on the same old thing. We'll get classic vocalist from our album that everybody loves, and we're going to prop him up and say, please save us. Please make us money again. And it seems to be sticking. You know, they're still, the band is still has him as the singer. I think, didn't he come on and do some stuff on that anniversary DVD you showed? I think that's where they realized that people really digged it. When he got up on stage, I remember watching it and the crowd going kind of nuts when he came up. And they were kind of like, oh, okay, you know, my checkbook's looking a little shitty right now. Let's talk to this guy.
I don't know. With all these compilations and stuff, their wallet can't be doing that bad because they've put out a lot of product in the past 10 years.
Just because you put out a lot of product doesn't mean it's selling. I mean, it just doesn't. You know, I mean, you get the diehards.
Somebody must be buying it because they keep making it.
It's true. That is a good point. That is a good point. But they're on Nuclear Blast now, so I mean, they're getting the push of a big label, for a big metal label at this point. So,
oh, they're actually on Napalm Records now.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it on Napalm? Okay. Well, still, that's a big label in Europe. That's a huge label in Europe. Fucking Van Canto. That's your next project, Jurgen.
Oh, yeah.
Canto.
I'm gonna start recording an album after we are done. It might be out tomorrow.
Yep. But
so in between the dreadful minutes just mentioned the Doomsday Kingdom, another project by Leif Edling, with the singer of the band Wolf.
Oh, okay.
They released a 10-inch as well. It's typical Leif Edling doom metal with a power metal singer.
Mm.
It's not too bad, but nothing special.
Mm-hmm.
And after the Doors to Doom, they released The Pendulum.
Oh, see, I haven't heard that one. Okay.
The Pendulum is a great song. The rest of the tracks are just unreleased demo stuff from the album. So just some leftovers. Some instrumental stuff on there. Nothing too special.
Okay.
And the last thing they did, everybody did that.
Okay.
Have you heard about that? That was a live stream without audience. So you've got Johann singing some classics from the Messiah era.
Oh, really? Okay.
This sounds really raw. The vocals are not too good. I haven't seen Candlemass with Johann live.
He's definitely a different singer than Messiah. Messiah's got lungs. Johann's got more character, I think, like a more of a street type of character than Messiah does. Messiah's got the pipes and he sounds classically trained, where Johann sounds like just a street singer, you know. But it's cool. It's totally cool.
Just to check out the beginning of the album, they start with The Well of Souls, and it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
It's not,
that makes sense.
Not bad, but it's nothing special. So that was the last thing in 2021.
Wow. Okay. So they're still hell. I wonder how old Leif is. He's got to be an old fart.
He was born. I looked at that earlier today because I saw a picture. I was just like, whoa! Did not realize he was at all. But I'm pulling it back right now because I forget. Born in '63, so he is coming up on 60 next year.
Okay.
So 59 at the moment.
Time catches up with all of us. But we did it. We got through this big ass collection. Lots of things to say. It was a lot of fun. Jurgen, you're the best, man. We love having you on here, and you're going to be on here again. So,
absolutely.
When you see the bat signal,
I think you'll have to take an English course before that.
No, dude, your English is fine. I know you sweat it. Don't sweat it. It's good. You're fine. Absolutely fine.
But I think it fitted. We've done a European band, and I'm from Europe, so.
Yep. And next one, we'll figure out something. We'll do something fun. It'll be good.
Oh, yeah. You had a lot of other good topic ideas. This was just
a ton of them.
Yeah, this was a good one you had mentioned before. I was just like, oh yeah, that would be perfect to do with Jurgen. So we kind of grabbed this one and ran with it, but we'll go back through that list for sure. Because there are lots.
Absolutely.
So maybe the next time you're gonna have to practice, and we're gonna do that in German.
9.
9.
9, Fräulein.
Okay. Good.
But for the next one, we'll see if we can send you over a shipment of tots, and you can have a snack live on camera.
You wanna see me puke live on camera?
Oh, puke! They're delicious. How can you hate potatoes? Potatoes are delicious.
Of course, these you have to deep fry them until they're just like one giant ball of grease. But
okay,
here we go. And Tim, just a little news blast. Jurgen is no longer in Repent. He has stepped down as lead vocalist for Repent.
Oh,
Repent discography next. I can tell you about my favorite Repent album. That's the one without me.
See, I disagree. I like the ones with you better than the one without you, to be honest.
Yeah, I like the old vocalist. The old vocalist, he's a Turkish guy, and he was a good friend of mine until he moved to Hamburg, I guess, and he became a jazz guy. I loved his DRI vocals. He's got like that.
Yeah. You got more aggression. That's what I liked about it. You got more balls to your vocals than he did. But I'm not discrediting his vocal style. I'm just saying I preferred yours. You brought more piss and vinegar to the sound, I think, where it needed to be.
Like I said.
Rick is asking, is there a Taco Bell in Germany? There's got to be.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Wow, you let us export that stuff to you guys?
It's delicious. It's our gift to the world. You're welcome.
Yeah.
But yes, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Jurgen, thank you for on such short notice jumping in with the topic. It was very, very awesome of you, and we'll get you back. And Alan, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. I missed you Wednesday.
I checked everything out. Yep, sorry I couldn't be there, but I checked it out, and again, you guys did just fine. It was a really good show.
But everybody, if you want to support this channel, you can go down in the description and click on the link to go buy yourself a Heavy Metallurgy. In streaming, There Is No Law bolt thrower inspired t-shirt, artwork by Nate Burns,
which is awesome.
Logo by Dreadful Rick over at the Dreadful Minutes, and
which is also awesome.
They turned out pretty damn cool. And go check out Jurgen's channel. His link is in the description below. He needs more subscribers. He does great work, and he has an amazing collection. Someday, if I ever make it to Germany, I'm going to be in that room. Probably, I'm going to be puking in a bucket next to his album collection.
You're going to be eating tots and smoking dactyls and just wallowing in a giant pile of vinyl.
in a fat fetal position, puking on myself. That's what I plan on doing.
I'm gonna drag you to the toilet. It's right next door.
That's a buddy lift. You're gonna need someone to help you. But anyway, everybody, you rule. We'll be back next Friday. I think Nick from the Dread Thralls of Metal is coming on and joining us next week. I'm not sure, but I think that's the case.
We're talking to Nick. He'll be on in the near future, definitely. Hopefully next week.
I think next week or the week after we'll be doing another The Glorious album club. I think Chris picked a Winterfelleth album, but we're actually switching that to a Borknagar album. So there'll be more info on that soon. But anyway, cheers. Y'all have a good night. Take care. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Don't hang up. Untitled